all about, because we hear so many things on the news, see things, and it seems like that
Israelis who were either tourists or came from Africa, for instance, to study agriculture and stuff like that. But 133 human beings are actually abused while in captivity. So of course we are deeply concerned. And Israel, as stated, it had its two main objectives. One is to eliminate the threat of Hamas.
of course, mainstream media, they have a totally different narrative. It seems like now the Hamas is the victim, and people are almost not talking about still in Gaza, and that has to do with the hostages, of course, because there is the hostages should be released. And what I can, maybe I can, not a deal, because can you tell me if Hamas allows or there is consent about a hostage deal, Israel Hamas, and they release all the hostages? Is this how is the approach?
Well, I think absolutely. I mean, that is such an important objective, the release of the hostages, that we can definitely see that would be a start to. Israel offered a very generous deal to Hamas, asking for the release of at least 40 of the hostages, civilians, the one-year-old baby, his 4-year-old brother, their parents, of terrorists, Hamas terrorists who are imprisoned in Israel, but also have a ceasefire for an extended period. But Hamas citizens is causing a lot of grief in Israel. It's a very strong psychological warfare tactic that they're using against Israel. They're hoping that this will cause division within Israel, with the families pressuring the government by Hamas in terrible conditions. But I think what you said is absolutely true, that the release of all the hostages would actually be
very excessive attack of Iran, because all this time we know that Iran has been hiding behind the proxies. Something about that, because fortunately there was almost no damage. I think only damage, because if those missiles and those drones had been able to reach the destiny and reach the territory of Israel and had been deployed, it would have.
You hit the nail on the head. And here again, we have to go a little bit to history. Up until 1979, Israel and Iran had diplomatic relations, warm, close relations under the leadership of the Shah. They came back to Iran and took over in a revolution. Then everything changed, and I'll remind your viewers, you remember the 40-day siege. So our diplomats, thankfully, were rescued, were saved before that happened. But since 1979, Iran has been violently spreading its extreme way. Just to mention a few, Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, who are being funded by Iran, Hezbollah, fully funded by Iran. You have the Houthis in Yemen, who only now people have heard of them, but they've been causing a lot of damage in the civil war in Yemen and against the Saudis. And Iran is in Syria, and they supported Assad in his ruthless, vicious civil war against his own civilians, his own citizens. So Iran is the #1 destabilizer. All their proxies, such as Hezbollah, are here, are in the area, and are also involved in illicit actions, transactions, including drugs to attack Israel. What happened on the night between April 13th and 14th is that for the first time, Iran attacked Israel from its own territory, sending damage in Ukraine, sending over 120 ballistic missiles, more than 30 cruise missiles towards Israel. This was in intent to cause massive damage that Israel has, but secondly also thanks to an alliance with friends from outside the Middle East and within the Middle East, including the United States and France, but other countries attacked, and as you said, causing minor damage. There was one 7-year-old Bedouin girl who unfortunately was severely injured from shrapnel after one of the it was a clear declaration, an act of war, and it was very important that Israel does everything it can to make sure that Iran does not repeat this than we are seeing right now.
You just mentioned that Israel has to make sure that this does not repeat, that Iran does not...
The capability, they have the capability to try and repeat this. So that's why we have to make sure that they do not have the intent. And one of the things, this is the Middle East. The Middle East sometimes operates on its own rules. And unfortunately, they implement sanctions over Iran because Iran is attempting to...
an attack last night deep into Iran. Is that what you mean by what Israel is showing what it can do?
I can't really comment, but I think what the Iranians know very well is while Israel has an incredible capability of defending itself from the different attempts by Iran being able to prevent Israel. We do not want to do this. We don't want to do this. We want to maintain stability. We want to bring back calm and stability to the region. But on the other hand, we know that if Iran is difficult, that's why you need this combination of Iran understanding Israeli capabilities together with the international community. Will not agree to what Iran has done and is continuing to do via its proxies.
Yes, I understood that I think last night the U.S. House of Representatives voted the attack from Iran on Israel. Is that what you mean by the international community, is showing? Yes.
I would Israel's appreciation to the United States, to Congress, to the Biden administration for standing firmly together with Israel. Also, I have to mention many we've seen for decades. It's not something new. But just to give you an example, if you go back to 2012, 2011, see all the in 1 year, all the anti-Israeli resolutions are more than all the other resolutions against other countries combined. If you take Syria, North Korea, that is because there's a very deep-rooted bias. Since October, within the UN against Israel, since October 7th, that has been even much more apparent because although the UN has passed dozens of resolutions once, a terrorist organization that perpetrated such a terrible massacre and continues to violate human rights on the most basic level, and we finally recognized that women, Israeli women, were raped and sexually abused by Hamas terrorists. All the evidence. Women came out and saying that they were sexually attacked, or people who saw that women were gang raped, and the United Nations did so much evidence, and it was nearly just impossible to disregard. Only then we start seeing some of these organizations recognizing that Israeli women were attacked and were abused sexually. So, unfortunately, it is important to recognize and to understand. And unfortunately, that's the way it is right now.
If you have a message to the Caribbean, approach the situation.
Well, I would first urge them to really look. into history and see what Israel has with Egypt. We gave Egypt the Sinai Peninsula, 3 times the size of Israel, rich with resources, just in return to get a signature on a piece of paper saying that we have peace. Cubic liters of water every year as part of the peace deal, just to get a signature on a piece of paper. Just in the last few years, we've made peace. Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco in North Africa. I mean, we struck deals. We've shown time and time again that we're willing to have peace. With the Palestinians, there have been at least Google, Olmert and Mahmoud Abbas, the Prime Minister Olmert and Mahmoud Abbas peace deal. See what he offered, the previous Prime Minister, what he offered to the Palestinians and give. And the second is, please try and put yourself in Israel's shoes. What other country would not have reacted from Israel? Just write an email to Hamas and please ask them to time we're
Misschien kunnen jullie zoveel mogelijk dingen uit laten maken. Are you still with us? We had an unstable internet connection here in the studio of Shalom. You can log in again. We proberen dit even op te lossen. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. We had a very unstable internet connection. We have a very unstable internet connection. It just seems like.
Okay.
We can. You can repeat your final sentence, your final statement. Find the things you said. I think you were unstable for maybe 30 seconds. Vind ik wel erg. Kan er wat gedaan worden?
Internet niet.
Kan je die connectie opnieuw doen? Laten we zijn secretaresse even appen. Maybe you can repeat the last part, like the last 30 seconds of what you were saying, because that was very...
We have no war with the Gazan people. Our war is with Hamas. Our conflict is Hamas. And that is, as I mentioned, that is one of our 2 objectives, to eliminate the goals that I mentioned.
Yes. Thank you very much, Excellency, Mr. Itai Bardov. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too, Ambassador. Thank you. Ja, dat was een interview met de ambassadeur. Ik denk dat het allemaal duidelijk is geweest. Voornamelijk heeft hij naar voren gebracht dat de reden waarom Israël nog voortgaat met deze oorlog heeft te maken met het feit dat ze dus 2 objectives hebben, zijn vrijkomen, en 2, ze willen er dus voor zorgen dat Hamas geen threat, geen bedreiging meer vormt voor Israël. En daarom dat ze dus doorgaan met de oorlog in Israël. En hij heeft dus op het laatst ook aangegeven, deze oorlog kan binnen een half uur over zijn. Als met het feit dat ze dus de wapens moeten neerleggen, de wapens neerleggen en de gijzelaars vrijlaten. Dat is in principe dat wat hij naar voren gebracht heeft. Stopt. Het is gestopt, toch?
Ja.
Ja, nee, dan houdt het op. Nee, dat hoef ik niet meer hoor. Ja, dat heeft te maken